Hello, Bart Riley here for another edition of Ideas to Inspire Ideas. Because after announcing about 2 years ago that I was moving away from YouTube to do more feature films and video games, the most progress I've had in that time have been YouTube essays, which were very elaborate and took up a lot of time away from feature films and video games. So I'm cutting the crap and trying to do both from now on. Wish me luck. I'm screwed. Now today's suggestion is in a overused genre as of late, but hopefully with a bit of a twist. I am suggesting a superhero video game about killing superheroes. Don't hurt me. It was called Mere Mortal Heroes at one point. In most superhero universes, death means very little. But for the Mortality Men superhero team, death, or rather the pleasant, lenient and negligent personification of death, is the secret to their success. However, with death recently destroyed by mysterious forces and the greatest threat to the planet Earth looming ever closer, every hero in the world will face the ultimate choice to its extreme: to sacrifice one for the sake of all, but as pathetically as possible. They'll use blood and bones to clog machinery, be punching bags for henchmen as distraction, fling themselves into traps to clear the way for their teammates, and become martyrs in front of the worst gang of bad guys ever gathered. To die in the line of duty is the highest honor for any hero, and when the best have fallen, the rest will do absolutely everything to save the day, knowing they won't live to see it. This is an action strategy game where the player must command hundreds of unique superheroes and decide which characters to sacrifice for specific goals. Each hero has their own powers, personality and backstory, which play with many famous archetypal models of the genre. For every death there will be different results based on short-term progress, character development for remaining heroes, and the greater narrative of the game. This game is a parody of the current trend of superhero films, in particular Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2, as well as older tropes of the comic book stories that inspired them, like the frequency of death and resurrection. Gameplay inspiration is drawn from strategic RPGs like Diablo and League of Legends, puzzle titles like No One Has to Die, and the LEGO franchise games. So, very big mix there. I was looking at this game as an isometric game where it's Diablo, League of Legends, but the actual levels are set up as puzzles where you sneak into areas and try to get past obstacles by killing your teammates. This game has a big roster of heroes. Can't really see the list, but I've literally written up an entire list of heroes to parody. We've got the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Defenders, the X-Men, big group there, obviously, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, Justice League, Legends of Tomorrow. It's a pretty cool show. The Teen Titans, Watchmen, The Incredibles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mystery Men. Who remembers that show? I do. I actually like that movie. But The Mask, sure, why not? Megamind, The Shadow, iZombie, The Inhumans, Jonah Hex, Constantine, Howard the Duck, well, sure, Blade. It starts with the core group of heroes, the Mortality Men, and I thought this game could have about 25 to 50 different characters, each of them a parody of common superhero tropes. We could call them like Avenging Justice or something. And then in between the missions you're talking to each hero and finding their backstory and exploring deeper themes like post-traumatic stress and survivor's guilt. Like the Spider-Man equivalent is guilty for having died and come back when his girlfriend Gwen Stacy never did come back. She died and was gone forever. Or the Superman who, after being the big hero of the world, is now terrified by the idea of permanently dying. He can't handle it. So like I said in the brief, the main film inspirations were Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2, which I watched around the same time and had very similar moments in it. Not themes, but if you've seen both of them, you know what moments I'm talking about. It was actually kind of funny. The first time I saw Deadpool 2, I didn't actually know what was happening in that particular scene until about the third or fourth death that occurred, because, you know, I'm watching a superhero film. I didn't think that they could just die that easily. But I was proven very wrong. And of course with Infinity War it was still pretty emotional, even though I knew they'd be coming back. But that's the problem. I knew they were coming back. In this game is all about not coming back. So the setup is Death isn't doing his job. He's letting all the heroes come back to life until the bureaucracy of Death fires him and replaces him with a pencil pusher, a bean counter, a very strict bureaucrat who needs to find out which heroes have died and who to take to the afterlife. And because the previous Death wasn't taking notes on who died, the new Death has to figure out by creating a superhero databank. Once the heroes find out Death is now permanent, they start trying to figure out who might know more about what's going on, who has seen Death before. And throughout the game, you as the player are talking to each of the heroes, getting their backstories, their emotions over permanent Death, and filling in this databank that is secretly helping Death do his job. So it's a Mr. Fantastic character setting up the databank through a storyline of massive consequences that you actually replay about 5 or 6 times, getting each of the characters' storylines. Because when you get to the end, it restarts. And I did have a bit of a metatextual idea on how that works in universe. There's a Deadpool-like character. Firstly, he can't die in gameplay. Secondly, he breaks the fourth wall. He actually knows he's in a video game. And that's because his backstory is actually, through sciencey magic, whatever, his brain is actually living simultaneously in 2 different universes. One where he's a superhero, and one where he's a video game designer working on a superhero game. Yes, the obligatory post-credit scene was gonna be, "It was me!" But, yeah, that idea went out the window. Isn't it just f***ing hilarious? We already had a great explanation for repeatedly coming back to life, and then we get stuck in a video game with permadeath. Exactly the kind of joke I would pull. Such is irony. I'll tell you what happened. A video game character who hates authority justified the player. That's like a middle finger to Zeus. What are you on about? Well, you see, in Greek mythology, Zeus and the Olympians were the creators and gods of mankind, but it was the Titans that created the world in which the Olympians ruled. So in this metaphor, game developers are Titans, players are gods, and obviously we are the helpless humans here to be f***ed and killed for entertainment. I'm sorry I asked. Oh, living in 2 realities at once is bad enough, but playing Groundhog Day on top of that is giving us a migraine. Not that being Bill Murray wouldn't be awesome, but oh, my head. So every time that the universe resets, Bartpool takes the databank information to the other universe, waits for the time to reset, then takes it back and updates the databank at the start of the game. So you keep the databank through the rewinds. But this is causing Bartpool to slowly disintegrate every time the time is reset, because the 2 universes are separating further and further apart. So after about the 5th or 6th time you play through, Bartpool is going to die and you're pretty much screwed. Death is going to kill all the superheroes and destroy the universe or something. It's a pretty rough ending. Now, because I'm suggesting another superhero media piece in a time saturated with them, I'm going to try and encourage something a little bit more. Because what are superhero stories actually for? They're supposed to inspire us to be heroes. Not superheroes, but heroes who help other people, who stand up for what is right. When in reality we can't just punch supervillains and save humanity. But that doesn't mean we can't be heroes. We can do smaller things to help others, to do our part in society. And not a lot of current media have actually been looking into that. Now, I'm not going to go into the debate of, is superhero movies cinema? Is it important? I'm not going to pick either side. I agree with both. I can see how the films can go that far, but I also know exactly why they don't. But there are actually some stories that have touched on that. Dark Knight and Spider-Verse have discussed it. The first Avengers touched on it. My Little Pony and Steven Universe are saturated in it. The Incredibles could have gone there, but nope, told it to bugger off. And I don't know how to tell that in a story about killing superheroes. Because the databank is finding out who has died, who hasn't died, who needs to go to the afterlife, no more, no less. It is rigid, it has to be followed. Then by the time you've gotten rid of all the big superheroes who have died, what you're left with are the mortals who are still fighting anyway. Okay, now I get my idea. You know what? I can explain it better. Okay, take two. Hello, Bart Riley here for another edition of Ideas to Inspire Ideas. Because after announcing about 2 years ago that I was
Thanks for watching.
away,
This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bart Riley out!
Paranoid now.